I read 16 books during the month of November, so let's go through these and we can talk about what I loved, what I wasn't obsessed with, what you guys should read, and what you should maybe stay away from, because I am always reading either between 16, 17, 18 books a month, and I feel like because I read so many books, I have a lot of books to compare them to. So we're gonna go through these, but first we're gonna talk about the books that are in the like 2-star category. There weren't very many of those. I actually have very highly rated books for the most part this month, which makes me so happy. I read How My Neighbor Stole Christmas and I rated this 2 stars. I was not obsessed with this one. I think, honestly, I don't want to like beat a dead horse because I talked about this a lot in my vlog, but I think for me, it was just so thick and the storyline focused more on like the characters that like, it focused more on like the town's like little festival thing and less on the relationship, and I wish I had gotten more of that. It was also very spicy, which I kind of knew it would be a little spicy going in, but I just didn't know how spicy. There is a candy cane scene that people talk about and like it's kind of wild, and I've never read anything like that in any other book. So yeah, definitely if you like spice and if you like long books, you'll like this book. There's banter in it. I just feel like a large chunk of the book could have been taken out. Like they had so many different challenges that they did that I was just kind of like over it. Like I wanted them to go on more dates and like talk to each other more, and we just kept like just doing this whole like Christmas small town like festival competition thing, and I was kind of over it. I also read Frigid by Jennifer Lynn Armentrout. I try to share why I didn't like a book and the type of person who might like it, because just because I didn't like a book doesn't mean that everyone won't like it. I think that if you're someone who likes like Wattpad kind of writing, like very dramatic, very like, you know, that kind of writing, you could enjoy this one. For me, this one just felt like a little too, I was definitely suspending reality, I'll say that. It was also very spicy, and it is about this, these 2 best friends that get like trapped into this house together and like snowed in, and while they're there, they kind of have feelings for each other, and they're just pretty much just hooking up. Like most of the book they're hooking up, and I just was like, I'm over the plot. Like I want them to get outside this house. I almost felt like I was snowed in with them. I was like over them being stuck in a house. Like it felt like we were all trapped in there together. And then those are the only 2-star books that I read, which I feel like is great. I read a good chunk of 3 and 3.5 star books. I almost hate to put the 3-star books in the stack with 3.5 star books. So I'm gonna share the 3-star books first, just because I feel like it is a better representation of like the difference between the two. I'll say that. I cannot talk today. I can't even remember actually which ones I rated 3-star. Okay, this one was 3 stars. A Novel Christmas, 3-star read, very cutesy, very fun. I will probably never remember this book. Like even looking at the back, I'm like, okay, what was this book about again? It was about a girl who was an author and a guy who was a firefighter, and she like needed a little bit of inspiration to start writing again. Very cutesy. If you don't like books with spice, you'll really like this book. Or if you don't want any spice in your books, you'll like this book. It was very, very heartwarming, nice for the holiday season. I feel like I liked it more because it was a holiday book and I knew what it was gonna be going into it. I've read one other book by, oh wait, no. I think this book does have spice, or maybe it has minimal spice, I can't remember. No, I think this book does have spice. I'm thinking of a book by Tony Shiloh. That's what I'm thinking of because the covers look very similar. Yeah, this one, it was cute. Again, you can see I didn't really remember it. I enjoyed it and I enjoyed how I felt while I read it, but those to me are typical 3 stars. It's like, I enjoyed it while I read it, probably never gonna think about it, would probably recommend, wasn't like my favorite, but like it was fine. I also read The Guy for Me, and this was a cutesy little read, another 3-star read as well. I think for me, the reason why this was 3 stars and was just like mid, not bad, not great, it just was, is because the romance and like spice, the spice, not the romance, was very heavy. This is about two people who've been sending letters to each other, and while they've been sending these letters, they have not met each other ever in person. And so they decide that they want to meet up. And after they meet up, one of them kind of learns something about the other that like makes them frustrated. So there's a little bit of miscommunication, but not too much. But then like the other half of the book is like straight spice. And I just was surprised because this book is 135 pages and I think 70 pages were like spice, or 50, or like a large chunk of the book. And then I also read, trying to find which ones are 3-star and which are 3.5. I think that this one, I can't remember if I rated this 3 or 3.5 stars. This one was actually really cute. Very funny. This is one of those books that'll make you like laugh out loud. It's about a couple who's fake dating because they're both going home for the holidays and everyone has just been giving them grief. So they decide to fake date with each other, and of course, we know what happens in these books. Like, they just started to have feelings for each other that they couldn't let go of. And this one was cute. I will say it was a little long for a Christmas read. It was like 336 pages. I feel like Christmas read should be like no more than 250 pages. Like, I just really feel like that's like the sweet spot. I also read Don't Call Me Crazy. I think I rated this one 3 stars or 3.5. I literally can't remember at this point. This book was good. If you like true crime, you'll like this. It's about a girl who is asked if she can give interviews to like some of the deadliest like killers, and she's like, sure, I'll do it. And then as she's giving these interviews, she is unearthing all of these things that like no one knew about, and it's very like eerie. I feel like you'll like it if you like true crime, because it kind of felt like you were listening to a true crime podcast. Luster is another book that I was very surprised by, and I think the reason I was most surprised is because it just felt, this book felt like, I don't know, it felt like it needed to be a movie, I'll say that. The main character was confusing to me at times, but I also think if you're someone who your life kind of feels like just not in order, you kind of feel like you're maybe not making the right decisions, read this book. There's a point where she like has this guy punch her in the face and is like fine with it. He's like, I really want to punch you right now. And she's like, that's fine, you can do it. Like, this girl was a pushover to the max, but I do think that you got to see some growth by the end of the story, which I think was really nice. And I think it'll make you feel good if maybe your life isn't like the best, or maybe you're not making the best decisions. You'll read this and be like, huh, life isn't too bad after all. I had wanted to read that book for a while, and I'm so glad that I did. There are a lot of mixed reviews on Goodreads, but I think you just have to know what it is going into it. You have to know that the character is kind of unhinged. She doesn't really make the best decisions, and so on. So, yeah, only for the holidays. This was a cutesy read. I do remember rating this 3.5 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this one a lot. I actually think that I like this one better than Love in a Winter Wonderland, which I rated them both 3.5 stars, but I almost wish I could have rated this like 3.2 and this 3.5. They're both by the same authors. I feel like the cover of this one is better, but the story in this one is better. This one, they're trying to save a bookstore. The main guy character is his family's bookstore. They're trying to save the bookstore and like the bookshop and stuff. There is romance in it, but it's not really as heavy as like the whole bookstore like saving thing. This one, there's a lot more romance, and it's about a girl who is with this guy. They've been like dating, but he's not like the best boyfriend, so he's like, I want to take a break. And she's like, you want to take a break? Like, what? Right over the holidays? So her mom whisks her away to this small town, and then she starts to have feelings for this guy in this small town. And of course, whenever her ex finds that out, he's like, oh, I want to get back, wait. You know how it goes. And so you got to see her build her confidence in this, and I really enjoyed that. So those are the 3.5 star books. I can't remember what I rated this, Gray After Dark. I can't remember if I rated it 3 or 3.5. It's the only thriller, I'm pretty sure, that I read in the entire month, other than Octavia Grant's book. I heard great things about this, and I feel like you guys will enjoy this one if you like a story that is very like fast-paced and is unputdownable. I feel like this is one that you will enjoy. I also really loved Grown. Let's get into the higher rated books. These are the 4.5 star reads. I kind of want to separate the stories that I think were my favorites of the month so far. So I'm going to separate those and put those in a separate little like stack. So the first book, Grown, this is very close to being like my top 3 reads, but I decided not to put it in the stack. Not really for any particular reason. Well, I guess there is a reason. So I think the biggest reason why this was rated like 4 and not 4.5 for me is because the writing was a little flowery. There's no problem with the writing. Like, that's just a me problem. I'm not a huge fan of flowery writing. But the messaging behind this, the story, you will not want to put this one down. I have a hard time even sharing like what Tiffany D. Jackson's books are like, because it feels like a thriller, but it also has like so many different elements within the story as well. This one is about a girl who really wants to be like a famous singer, and this R&B like producer's like, hey, I can like help you get there. But he's like way older than her and kind of like grooms her. And this is a young adult book, but I think it's a very powerful story to read for really anyone. I talked a lot about why I feel that is in my recent vlog. I also read The Silent Waters, which this is a 4-star read for me as well. I think the reason I liked this one so much is because it just felt like I was reading Archer's Voice again by Mia Sheridan, which I love that book. And this one, it just will pull at your heartstrings. It's about a girl who goes through something extremely traumatic, and after that traumatic incident, she like is unable to talk. And I feel like we forget that everyone has a different like experience with trauma. Like, all of us digest it differently. All of us show up differently in the world based on the trauma that we've like went through and haven't worked through or have worked through. And this book, she like isn't able to talk after this traumatic event, and her best friend kind of helps her through life. And you see them from childhood through adulthood. And again, there's a romance in this too, so it's very beautiful. Christmas in Spite of You is a Christmas read that is probably one of my favorites of the season thus far. I rated this one 4 stars. I think the reason I love this one so much is because there's 1, forced proximity, and 2, it just felt like a very realistic story. It's about a girl who's like down on her luck. She's been really struggling to like even freaking pay her bills or anything. So she decides to like rent out, like pretty much Airbnb her house. Then she ends up getting sick, and she's like, oh shoot, I can't go home now. So I'm gonna just like stay in my house. So she's gonna end up having, I'm not gonna say why, because it does say this on the back of the book, but she ends up having to live with the guy who she was planning on Airbnb-ing out the house to. And there's so much tension between the two of them because of the forced proximity. It is so good. It also talks about her trying to build up her business as a hardworking woman, and like she doesn't know how to do some things. Like, he has to help her with her website and like all this stuff. So you see a lot of different things within that story. Again, very cutesy read, also super spicy. It just was a perfect balance of like love and other things outside of the love, like her work life and stuff and family, and also like the Christmassy vibes. He's like kind of like a grump. He doesn't really like Christmas for a reason, as you find out in the book. And so she takes him on all these Christmassy dates to like get him in the Christmas spirit. It is cute. Like, you'll really like reading this. This book and The Holidays by Brittany Cherry are probably the only Christmas reads. No, In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. I rated that 4 stars. But those are the only 3 Christmas books I've ever rated 4 stars, and I've read a lot of Christmas books. So read this one, especially this season, before it's over. Another book that I love, and these are in my top 3, are, I'll start with the one that I probably liked honestly, I liked them all. I can't even really say which one's the least or most. The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. I love this book. It is so underrated, and I think the reason it's underrated is honestly because its cover I think is really ugly. It's cute, but it's just not something you gravitate towards, you know? But it's about a girl who has to fake be married to this guy because he told his entire family that he was married to her, and they're getting ready to go to this wedding. So they're like, where's your wife? Where's your wife? And he's like, can you be my fake wife, please, and thank you. Like, his family is actually miserable, like such terrible people. And I feel like if you have a tumultuous relationship with your family, you might be able to resonate with that as well. You see that. You also see how she's someone who's had to take care of a family member, and she's really giving all of her money to this sick family member that obviously costs a lot of money. And so she is struggling financially, and there's so much within this, but it's so good. The banter is so funny. You'll find yourself actually laughing out loud. Like, I was laying in bed reading this and just like, Brady's like, what are you laughing at? I'm like, leave me alone. I'm just reading my giggly little book. Christina Lauren, they're such a great author duo that I love. I also read Legend in the Baking. This is a favorite of my month as well. This one was so good. It's about a girl who ends up having to work at this bakery, her brother's bakery, because she's down in the dumps a little bit on her job. And she ends up having to work with her like old crush. Like she had a crush on this guy when she was younger, and he kind of like dismissed her a bit when she was younger, so she's a little bit embarrassed and she doesn't really like to be around him because it brings up like some of her insecurities. I just feel like this is such a great book. It just came out and it's so good. Again, 4 stars. You will really love this one. And then Keep You to Myself by Brianna Denée. I love this book. I love this book so much. I did not want to put this book down. This might be my favorite of the whole month now that I think about it. Brianna Denée's writing is just so good. It's about Sonovi and Torin. Sonovi, he's really had a hard upbringing, like growing up. He's just really tried his best to make it. And Torin, she's someone who was kind of like born into wealth. And they end up like their paths cross, and she ends up being able to give him a job. So while he's working for her, he starts to like catch feelings for her, but it's kind of forbidden because she's his boss, you know? So you get that, but then you also see his backstory. And if you like a Lifetime movie, like stuff with like drama and things that like happen that make you just be like, oh, you'll like this story. It is so good. It's one that I've heard a lot of people talk about on TikTok, but not a ton of people talk about on YouTube, at least recently, maybe in previous years, because I think it came out like a year or 2 ago. I'm just late to the game, but I'm so excited to read the second book because it is a little duology. This is my second book by Brianna Denée, and the first one I read was Spin About You. Love her writing. If you like Natasha Bishop's writing, or Brittany Cherry, or someone who has like a very fast-paced writing, very easy to read, you'll love this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys got lots of recs for things that you should pick up, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.